Welcome back, everybody. Super excited for part two. This is going to be really, really great. Sam has been absolutely crushing us with knowledge. I am just super thrilled. We were thinking we were going to get a one episode in. We've got so much more good information for you guys. So we kind of were wrapping up at partnerships and then building into that rental space. And we were talking a lot about just Sam and I's relationship kind of at the end of that, but I really kind of want to dive a little deep into maybe some challenges and things to watch out for, because again, Sam, deep in the space of not only owner operator manager, but also touching different classes of property management as well. So I'm gonna just launch it right here. As a long-term rental investor, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? And you know that, well, we always like to hear the bad stories, the horror stories, and the good stories. So you already know I'm gonna get you on that one. But what are some of the things you face just managing the single family rentals? How do you overcome that? And then what are some similarities and differences in that multifamily space?
Yeah, so I mean, with all rentals, I mean, the thing is always finding great tenants. So you want to make sure you have a process for finding great tenants. One of the things I do, since I'm a little bit of a smaller rental operator compared to many, is I advertise mine through Zillow. Zillow puts them on 3 other rental websites as well.
Wait,
so
automatically?
Yeah. So I do the rental listing directly onto Zillow. Then Zillow puts it, I believe, on Trulia, Realtor.com, and maybe Redfin. It was 3 of them. I can't remember exactly.
Awesome.
But it puts on all 3 of those. The other thing,
how quickly do you start getting calls?
Yeah, I mean, you'll start getting messages within the day, usually.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because where we at? We're in a high rental demand area.
Sure.
Where my houses are in Okaloosa County. It's the same county that Destin, Florida is in.
Right.
So the south end of the county there is super high demand for rental homes. So as soon as you put one up, you start getting calls. The reason I like that is also, I believe it's more fair for my potential tenant, is that they can pay a $30 application fee to Zillow. I don't get any of that money, but it does a background check and credit check through there. That way it's good for the tenant for any other Zillow property for the next 30 days. So I like doing it through there because I get the information checked, but then that way, instead of, having to pay 30 to me and then 30 to every place they want to go check out, they can just pay it once on Zillow, and then it applies to all the rentals on Zillow. So like I said, I do that to kind of help people out.
And then talk a little bit about that, because I think that's really interesting. What all is included in that $30 fee? Are they run all the backgrounds and everything? Like, what are they doing for you?
Yeah. So I'm not paying the 30. The tenant pays the $30.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that with that,
yeah,
lower cost, you're getting a ton of value, right?
Yeah. So you're getting a credit check, you're getting a background check. Yeah. So the credit check will tell you about any evictions. Background check will tell you about any felonies. And then the other thing I like about it is that $30 fee gets rid of all the tire kickers. So all the people that were just going to come look at the house and not rent, you don't have to deal with them, because
people that are interested. Yeah.
So one thing I do is I won't even give people the time of day until they fill out the application fee. Second, they do the application, I'll go ahead and schedule a showing with them. But I don't do that because, and like I said, this is where sometimes it makes more sense to get a property manager. When I first started managing these homes, I live in the area. I currently moved an hour away over here where I currently live in Pensacola. So because of that, I try to coordinate a bunch of showings in one day. So it's a time I'm already over in that area anyway.
Sure. It makes perfect sense.
But there's other ways to do it. I know a lot of people who will put temporary cameras in their unit and will have remote locks. So that way they can schedule a remote showing for somebody without having to be there. Again, I don't have that many, so I still do it kind of the old school way of showing up. Plus, the other reason I like to show up though too is, they see me, I see them. We just kind of have that understanding, that hey guys, okay, so I'm gonna trust you my property. I'm gonna come, check it here and there. And then they now have a face with who owns the property and
So
knows that they need to respect it, to be able to maintain residence there.
yeah, no, so I'm curious. Like, obviously, if it's your home, you could show the property. But what kind of stipulations if I'm a new person and like, could I have my friend show a property, or is that not okay? Or what are some of those restrictions and
Yeah,
things like
I think that kind of would go into what you're calling it. So I think
that?
technically, if they were showing a property, I think it can only be shown by a realtor. If
Okay,
your
yeah,
if your friend was unlocking a door for you, then that's totally different. So I
got
mean,
it.
you can
No,
definitely get
'cause
your friend
I
to go
knew there were
unlock
some
the door.
stipulations, but yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah. I
that's
mean,
like things that you guys we're not lawyers. You guys need to check it out. So
again, yeah, and that's definitely not legal advice.
yeah,
But I definitely know that it's not illegal to have a friend unlock a door. So,
sure.
so I've definitely have worked that one before. But again, usually I've done that usually if I'm getting a friend to unlock a door, it's someone I've already had a little bit of rapport with. I probably have already showed the husband or I showed the wife, and then they want to bring
Show
their partner back with them. And so
sure.
then it's more of like, because there's a lot of times I've even done it where, in Destin where my parents live, if I know there was a time that I was renting out the one house and I showed it to the couple and they wanted to come back and check it one more time. And since I knew it was pretty much just they were pretty much locking in and just wanted to confirm something, I just had my mom stop by and unlock the door real quick, for them because she lived a mile away,
Right.
and so, so like I said, usually though, I already had a rapport, but yeah, there are definitely stipulations, where, like I said, you were showing other people's property, or if you're going to manage, you can't be a property manager for non-family and, things like that without being, licensed under a broker,
Sure.
so
Yeah,
there's
because we
that.
had Felix on and he was talking about a lot of
Right.
those stipulations and stuff too. So no, I
Yeah.
just wanted to kind of go over that because I think that's really important. If you're opening and closing and I think that's a good little golden nugget, which I think you were kind of on a good trail talking about some like good secrets as it being your own managing property manager. So what are some other kind of like tidbits that you could drop on some of the listeners right now that have really kind of helped you not only scale but deal with the stress of having, over a dozen rentals and people calling your phone and there's this happening, the plumbing, the HVAC, this, I mean, we're in Florida, so it gets hot. So a lot of times people just want to turn
Right.
on the AC all the way down,
Yeah, so if you're going to be self-managed, and again, I only really recommend self-managing in two scenarios. One, you live near the property and you really only got one, or two, you have a lot of properties in that one area, so that therefore you probably already have a handyman or someone that you work with on the regular. And that's what made it easy for me to, let me add that in. That's what made it easy to self-manage. I was already fixing flipping. I was already doing burrs. So I have repair people that are doing work for me that I get monthly bills from on the regular. So since I have that person already on call, it's easy for me to take my stuff on because if I have an emergency in one of my rentals, if someone texts me and says something's leaking, I got someone's cell number that I shoot them a text and they're there at 7 the next morning. If you don't
right?
if you don't have that kind of system, that's when you'd probably want to consider having a property manager because that, you not knowing who to call and then having to figure that out and coordinate them to get there is a big headache. But like I said, if you're going to then own a number of rentals in one area, and that's like I said, where I'm blessed because I have all my rentals and I have all my parents' rentals, and like together we can keep our guy, our handyman guy's name's Dana. We keep Dana busy, and every month, I get an invoice and my mom gets an invoice and we got all of our things, list on there. But Dana does repairs me at my restaurant I got in Shalimar along with all my properties and then all my parents' properties. And so, like I said, since we got our guy Dana, we're good on everything, and can get things,
So
fixed real.
Dana likes you guys. He's
Oh yeah.
staying busy.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and he, like I said, he gets excited whenever I get a project because, like, he knows, like he has
Money.
work, So, but like I said, until but it only makes sense to have someone like that, or you only get the pleasure of working with someone like that if you can provide them enough steady work. Because like Dana doesn't have to go anywhere else to find a job. Between me, my mom, and I think there's one other person, like us three people, we got enough stuff for him to do at all times where he never has to look for work. He doesn't have to take random jobs, and so that's why he'll do our stuff at a drop of a hat. Now Dana gave me parameters though too, because Dana knows I'm all over Northwest Florida, so he'll only do work for me up until Santa Rosa County. That's really a stretch. He really only wants to stop at Okaloosa, and then he'll do Walton County. So pretty much between Okaloosa and Walton County is where I got my guy Dana. But that's where I have the majority of all my rentals. So like I said, it works. And if I didn't have that person, you would really want to probably consider a property management company, because like it can be stressful, especially if you have anything like water related as a problem, like a busted sink or total leaking toilet, things like that can cause damage to a home in a hurry. Those are the times that it might make more sense if you have a property management company, because the property management company will be in the same situation I am, because they manage so many rentals. They got their own version of a Dana.
Totally.
Totally.
No, I think that's good. So I think that falls perfectly in here with tenant management, because you have your team built. You're a great property manager. What about tenant management specifically? It's obviously the biggest, maybe one of the biggest things of owning rental properties. Right. Like, what's the process? I know you already said you're utilizing Zillow. Zillow's doing a lot of the screening process. Now you dropped in a few other good ideas of, opening the house because it's manageable currently. But how do you ensure that you're attracting and keeping reliable, responsible renters? And where does that kind of fall in line on how you stay, like, what's legal, what is this, what is that? Like, if I'm a listener and I've never done
this is such an easy answer. This is such an easy answer. Treat others like you want to be treated.
Perfect.
That's it. So keep in mind, you're giving someone a place to live. They're trusting you with that. And that's where people look at it differently. I don't want to be a slumlord. I want people to value that I'm giving them a place to stay. I want to be in line with the market. So I don't want to be the cheapest thing, because I don't want to attract the cheapest kind of tenant. But I don't want it to be overcharging them per se. I do want to be at the market rent. But if I can be at the market rent, but then at the same time, every time there's a problem, I got someone on it within 24 hours, and I handle all the problems that are my side as the landlord. I'm fixing everything on time. I'm taking care of in my apartment. We provide pest control. So when I go, we give all notice on that. The single family homes, tenants are responsible for pest control. But like I said, you just got to do everything that you need to do as a landlord. And then, I also, this kind of contradicts what I was saying a little bit earlier, as far as, people are late, give them the notice right away. But I do tell my tenants that I'm much more willing to work with you if you talk to me well in advance versus after the money's due. For example, if someone's going to have a tough month, if they talk to me around the 21st or the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of the month and let me know, hey, I'm changing jobs, but I'll be getting my first paycheck on the 5th and I will bring it to you on the 6th. I just want to let you know, I'll usually waive the late fee on something like that, because they're communicating with me, and I usually, that's part of my in my tenant interview acceptance process. I let them know that if you're communicating with me and letting me know ahead of time, I will work with you, because I would rather have that situation than, it's the 5th. I haven't heard from them. They're not responding to me. They're dodging me. And now I got to, start taking the formal process of, am I going to have to evict, is there going to be further, legal problems I'm going to have to deal with? I got all those unknowns. And honestly, it's like some of those unknowns of like, if I have to evict, there's going to be a lot extra damage. Those unknowns add stress to you. And like, sometimes the cost of that stress is, you can't put a price on it, but it costs a lot, and
no, definitely.
And, so it's nice. But so for the most part, like I know we started off on the last episode, me talking about 2 problem tenants. That is so rare for me. I mean, when I think about all the other tenants I currently have, in my, I actually just had someone vouch me on a local Facebook page, because I just announced that I had a house coming up. And he said, I've rented from Sam Poppell for 6 years. He's a great landlord. I mean, 6 years, that guy was my tenant, awesome. And I have other people that, I've been managing my, my parents' apartment complex, since, 2016, maybe even 2015, definitely since 2016. I have, I think, 3 families that have been in there that entire time. Yeah. And so, and then the other, there's a 6 unit apart. The other 3, they've been there for a number of years too. I think the other units have only turned over once. So like I said, if you're a good landlord and you're providing the right price, for the market, people don't want to move because moving costs money. You move, you gotta, even if you're going to move in the cheapest way possible, it's going to at least cost everybody a day off work. A day of no wages and a day of, at least gas, transport. And that's like doing it cheap. I mean, like most people got to get a moving truck, got to hire a couple guys, you got some stuff that's too big for you to lift by yourself with just you or just you and your girl. So, it costs money. And then you got to usually put down the first month, last month security deposit at the next place. And so, all that being said, your tenants generally don't want to leave, and especially in your lower class rentals. A lot of people talk a lot of shit about, Class C rentals, but the great thing about them is a lot of times those tenants, if you get the right ones, they want to stay because they don't have anywhere else to go. Like when you are the bottom of the rent market, there's nowhere else for them to go that's any cheaper. And when you know that, you kind of there's an understanding where they know that they're going to take care of your place because they know they can easily be replaced, because like I said, when you have the bottom, there's plenty of people that want to rent. And then also they, like I said, they pay on time, but then I at the same time I want to be good to them because I know they need that place. So it's a great, like I said, so you have a lot of plus with it. But if you take care of people and you treat them like you'd want to be treated, like if you think about, hey, if I was a tenant and my fridge went out, wouldn't I want someone to come fix it right away so I didn't lose all my food that I paid for? Or if I'm a tenant, it's July and I lost the air conditioner, wouldn't I want someone to come fix mine ASAP? Bring a so like I said, when you just put yourself in their shoes, it's easy for you to go do the right thing. And then when you do the right thing, they want to stay because, like I said, it's, everyone, most of the time in those situations too, especially in my Class C rentals, all those people have had experience with a shitty landlord. And so they know also how good they have it with me because, like I said, it's, I respond to all messages within the day, and usually I have someone going and fixing the problem by the next day. So it's, I do everything as quickly as possible.
No, I think that's the most important, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. I think that's incredible. But with that being said, when it comes to keeping properties profitable, how does that work with that? Like, how do you strike that right balance between necessary repairs, improvements with overall profitability, but being a conscientious landlord as well?
Yeah. So, for the most part, I don't really get a whole lot of calls for a whole lot of, repairs, a lot of what I'd call maybe unnecessary repairs. Like, we're not painting units mid-stay of somebody. or do anything like that. So all that would happen in between. So most of the repairs that we would do while tenants in there would be something that would be necessary. They have to be something to do with their kitchen or their bathroom, and things like that. I don't know. Maybe give me an example of one that would be possibly unnecessary. Because, like I said, we wouldn't do any painting or anything like that. Mid stay on a tenant. That would all just kind of be. Wait till they moved out and then evaluate, is it a touch-up paint job or is it a full paint job?
No, yeah, it's your expertise, right? So like I was just curious on what that looks like and how
the way you make people take good care of the way you make them take good care of your place, you let them know that you're going to be coming every 6 months. Okay. But you also know, like say in my apartment, the Class C apartment, I have pest control go every month. And then every month when the pest control comes, my guy, either I go with the pest control guy or my guy Dana goes through. So we get eyes on those units monthly. And then my long-term homes, I end up the three I managed for my parents. We got a landscape guy that goes there twice a month. So he reports to me directly about anything looking nefarious in the yard. That's not looking right. And then we do annual inspections on all of those. And then if we think there's an issue, we might then, go biannually or schedule something, sooner. But the big thing with all rentals is you got to make sure you're being fair to everybody and not being, specifically unfair to anybody. So, generally I'll make my rules of, we do annual inspections on all units. And then, like I said, if we notice something, then we'll make a notice that we're coming back. But for the most part, most of the people that rent from you are renting because they can't afford to buy yet, and in those cases, it all depends where you are. But like I said, where we are in our area of Florida, an affordable home goes fast on the market. Usually there's multiple people putting in applications to try to rent it. And so, we're just in this market over here where, if you got a good house and it's listed at the right price, it's going to rent, and so, like I said, so as far as making sure you're doing everything profitable, a lot of that comes into your underwriting in the beginning. And then it just, comes into making sure, you're doing the right rent increases. I do recommend doing small ones every year. That way, everybody's always prepared for one. So even if I was not really wanting to do a big one, just add $20. That way they know it changes. And then you have some years you increase a little bit more. But if you just, like I said, keep creeping it up, every year. And some people are like, a lot of people don't understand is, well, if I moved in and the rent was $1,500 a month and my landlord didn't fix anything, why should the rent go up? Well, every single year, the taxes go up, the property insurance goes up, all these costs. And then, usually on a single family homes, landlords usually still pay for annual termite inspections and things like that. So there are still running costs that fall on the landlord that go up every single year. And so that's why small increases are necessary. There's just, like I said, things you got to do when you're running your numbers to make sure it's going to work. Not every property is going to cash flow correctly at just any price. And you got to know and understand your market with that.
Well, also in our market in Florida, every year you can guarantee your insurance is going up.
Yeah. Definitely. I do think I will say from 24 to 25, I saw my smallest increase out of the past 3 years. So I do think we finally have hit a bit of a
I hope so.
Slowing a plateau because I'm definitely at I got in my restaurant side of things. I got buildings and triple net leases that experienced the 200% increases previous year. I had one that went from 12,000 something to 24,000 something a year for insurance. It definitely increases, but hopefully, like I said, we'll start to see a little bit of a slowing of that, in our markets. And now that it's gotten to a certain point, hopefully we'll start seeing more insurance companies, come in and start creating, more competition in the Florida market.
Yeah, no, I think that's mandatory because it's getting crazy. But also with that comes a lot of opportunity. You want to kind of speak to that maybe, and where you can see in the next, 12 to 48 months where there's going to be a
Well,
lot of opportunity. Just I mean, right now I'm seeing so many sub two deals, which I'm
yeah.
really
Well,
seeing.
I mean, I think really where you and I saw the biggest opportunity, and it's where you and I have really taken advantage of it, is this high insurance has really kind of slowed down the sale of some fix and flips, but it's picked up the sale of brand new construction homes.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I mean that's why you and I kind of picked what we're currently niched in on is buying lots to buy to build on, because we realize that we're more profitable building from the ground up and selling a home than we are picking out a very good fix and flip, and then it's a whole lot easier to sell. So that's definitely a niche that's happening right now and in this market.
No, I completely agree. And also with that exact point that we were just mentioning, insurance is pretty nominal on new construction. Even if you did it the best fix and flip, like better than any new construction, unfortunately, your insurance price is still going to be higher.
Right.
It,
Yeah, and it's very interesting to me. I don't totally understand it because I mean I even own some block homes.
mm-hmm.
And I own a couple block homes that have been around since the '60s. And those houses obviously have went through
Yeah,
numerous
they're not going anywhere. But
numerous hurricanes. They're there for a while. They'll be there past me. They'll probably be there longer than my kids. Like they're gonna be there forever. It doesn't make sense, but yeah, and then a new construction. Like I said, I mean, granted, new construction homes are now built at the highest level of engineering and highest level of code. So yeah, that's why they automatically get it. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me why it's so much better than some of these block homes, because some of these block homes, I feel like should be nothing on insurance, but
seriously, it's literally made out of cinder
it
block.
is what it is. You can whine and complain about it, or you can evaluate what the market's doing and go along for the ride. And that's what we did was instead of complaining, we decided, well, let's just start building new.
Yeah, and then as you guys have listened to some of the episodes, and if you haven't, definitely check it out. There's obviously a lot more hoops to jump through, right? You have to get plans have to be approved before you even get permits. When you do a fix and flip, you don't have any of that, right? All of those things take a long time. You work with a draftsman gets it to an architect finalizes, gets it to an engineer. Now you have a set of plans just to present to the city or the county, when you could have already done a flip, right? But
valid point. And that's kind of like said, one of the reasons why, like, again, I love this show, talking about all the different kinds of reasons for real estate, because with that being said, that's one reason why new construction might not be for the brand new person, completely, not just the real estate. I mean, new construction, I think, can be great for someone who's new but established already in life. So maybe someone who has a background as who's a doctor or a lawyer, or someone who's already in a high paid career that has the money and can afford for it to like go, do things that not come to pay out real quick. Because that's one of the things with new construction is you got to buy a lot, put money out on, engineering, all the pre-construction costs before you get into construction. So, there's a long runway before you actually get a check back.
Yeah.
Versus, like I said, fix and flip. You can go in and, depending how handy you are personally, you might, be able to do all the work, yourself in, 30 to 60 days. And, and not need to go get a lot of permits, depending, if you didn't, touch a lot of the mechanicals or anything like that.
Right. Exactly. So, well, dude, I am really excited. And since it's just us today, I think we should rip another episode, because I am really interested on like financial considerations, commitments, what it looks like long term to keep these rentals profitable, to be the best kind of property manager possible. But to do that, you have to be profitable to be able to pay the bills, right? And you've given us so much good information leading up to this point, that we understand that your operations level through the roof. Now, how do we get and manage that financially to match that, to be able to implement a lot of the things you've already given us? So I'm super excited to get into that next episode on that. But before we do that, where am I going to find you, Sam? And let's tell everybody what we're kind of into right now.
Yeah. So best place to check us both out is the eliterealestatepodcast.com. You can go there. You can shoot us a message. Let us know if you have any trouble selling any property. We can help you with disposition on that. Or if you have a property deals you want to sell us, please shoot them to us. So the eliterealestatepodcast.com. You can find me personally on Instagram at Sam_FloridaMan. Feel free to shoot me a DM. I love talking about real estate, business, finances. So anything along those lines, feel free to shoot me a message and we can chat. And then definitely want to take advantage of our personal assistants. So these guys have been doing a great job for me. They're great cold callers. So virtualcallers.net, code Elite Real Estate. That code will save you money. So definitely go to virtualcallers.net. Use the code Elite Real Estate to get started with your own virtual assistant, virtual cold caller today.
And on top of that, like when you're looking and you're overloaded, like Sam and I, being able to have someone that you can lean on and call, amazing. But the fact that there's barely any like discrepancy in a language barrier and or accent is just something that you don't find very often. So definitely check it out. Elite Real Estate is your code to save money. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Sam, like I said, I got those 195 vacant lots. We got to put all that into a system. I think I'm going to be calling one of the VAs.
No, man, I think we definitely should hire another one between us because definitely can use it. So definitely great to take advantage. But guys, now we appreciate y'all listening to us on this episode. Come check me out over at Clean Eats. I own all the Clean Eats cafes in the Northwest Florida, Mobile, Alabama area. So come see me at Clean Eats. But please tune in to the next episode of the Elite Real Estate Podcast. We'll see you guys then.
See you guys soon.